Review of liquor license code.
Well, that should take 3 minutes.
Well, the rest of us can leave. Matt, you take care of this one.
I went through the changes and comments from staff, and they're all good. You know, we switched to Bassett. That was probably the biggest portion of the change, or volume of change of the code itself, as far as words, if you will. There are a couple things, though, that aren't in there that I would like to discuss. And, one of which is the categories and how we come up with them. Mike put out a memo addressing this meeting today and kind of shed a lot of light on the classifications and how we issue licenses based on the uses. And I would like to spend a half hour with him going through that one more time in my mind so I'm clear and come up with a category. Right now we have 3 basic categories. We have our A classes, which is mostly our hotels or what is it, banquet halls for the most part, but it doesn't always follow that way. B is the package, carry out, non-consumption type on premises, and C is the restaurant uses, which includes some of what we call nightclubs, and some of them are restaurants. So we just kind of have to get that clear. I spoke with him about times. You know, right now, if you walk in here and you want to open a small shop restaurant and you apply for a liquor license, you get a 3 o'clock license, depending on which category you apply in. No questions asked. That just doesn't make any sense. So I asked him if we could make like a list of times. You know, we have our 2 4 o'clocks, which, you know, are very special. They were almost created outside of our code and put into our code for them. But I would like to see us go to where we have a standard time, whether that be 1 o'clock, Monday through Sunday. You know, I don't know that if you're at 1 o'clock that you really have to start saying, well, Friday and Saturday is going to be 1, but Monday through Friday and Monday through Thursday will be 12. I think we just can go to like a 1 o'clock for restaurants and that kind. And then people that, if they want to get a 2 o'clock and they've been here or they've shown good behavior, they can ask for a 2 o'clock, but it would be the same license as if it was a 12 o'clock or 1 o'clock restaurant. Just to make it a little easier, so that we have early or late licenses, and it's based on behavior. Some people obviously could be grandfathered in. And I also think that we really need to look at staggering the pricing on these, because the difference between our highest and lowest consumption on site license is not that great. I think video gaming has changed that. I don't know if anybody looks at the revenue created by video gaming, not so much to us, but to the venues themselves, is staggering. So I don't want anybody crying about what these licenses cost or what they're going to cost, especially for the people that want a 2 o'clock license, or for the 2 that already have the 4, which I don't anticipate wanting to do any more of those late licenses like that. So I'd like to talk to Mike about how to do the housekeeping on that to get it squared up so it makes sense and it's something that we can go forward, so we're not always making changes to our hours and exempting this and here's a special case for that. The other thing is on how our license, it's not in here now, but I would like to talk about or see us do something with, is how licenses come back to us, meaning when somebody's done with it, whether they're not going to use it or they sell their place, how we deal with that issue of we only extend as many licenses as, there's only so many licenses available, and that's based on how many are extended by the council. You'll see a list in here of how many of each type there are, and that's because when somebody comes to us, we will extend the number for that classification, so one more exists so that the mayor and the liquor commissioner can give that out. We had a situation come up recently that I wasn't aware of, and I felt kind of silly because I thought I was usually aware of a lot of things that go on, but we have a place that changed names and had put the new name of their location just on a piece of paper in the window, and I always thought it was weird, and I never asked the question why until I found out now that they actually changed ownership last summer. but it wasn't anything that came to us because they never gave up their license for the new licensee to come in and buy the business or transfer ownership or whatever happened. So I'd like to see that when there is a change of ownership, you know, and however Mike feels or whatever the rule is of 50% or more, or whatever percentage, that they actually come before us to get the new license. Because I don't know how it works, because you can't issue a license without approval, but if you give up a license, that creates a gap to when the new licensee comes in, and they can't happen simultaneously. I think it's healthy for when a new person is running a place that sells liquor, that they go through the scrutiny that we do, you know, the background checks and that. And I think it's a good checks and balances to make sure that that happens versus having an open license that's just re-granted to a new person. So I'd like to see us make a change there in that we define a license by the user, and when that user decides they're no longer going to operate their business, that license comes back to the city and is then just reduces that number automatically versus us having to take action on it.
That's the way it has been working, except some guy that put a paper sign up for this one.
No, Cafe Bliss never came to us to have a...
Yes, they did.
They applied for it.
They applied for one, they did the background check, and the previous owner had given up their license. And they paid the full amount as soon as there was a change.
But did we granted an extra license, or did that
No,
license?
that license.
Kind of like, or when Ultra sold to Tony's. That would be an
Yes.
example as well. too.
But there was a gap of time there of actual use, so I mean, it went away. I mean,
No.
It was.
there was a period of time where there was no sales going on at Ultra, because Tony's didn't open the day that Ultra closed. So, I mean, there was,
No, Bliss didn't open the day that Gavin closed either.
so they were closed for a period of time?
We're going back,
But they
a year and a half.
held the license open. I mean, they didn't.
That's my point.
Yeah.
That's my,
The owners of Gavin held it open and held it, even though they weren't operating to what my knowledge was.
Right.
New owners came in and applied, the old owners gave up, and the new owners had it with the business, when they bought the business.
okay.
They have to physically return a license.
Just the one caution of that is there is, if an operator runs an establishment responsibly, there's probably a reasonable expectation that even though we don't sell licenses, that they'd be able to sell the business and that a license would be granted. Because I'm thinking otherwise, if a restaurateur was afraid that they would not get the license that came with that establishment, they might not purchase it.
They have to, they're still subject to the background check.
Exactly,
Yeah,
exactly.
We do all that. New owner gets a background check.
But it's just if there is a change, what comes first? Does the license go away and a new one then happens? Because I don't read that's how it happens in our code. Now, we've always talked in the past 15 years, and it's been common practice, it's always been said that we will go through the process of reducing the number of licenses for that category and then issuing a new one. So
A new license is not created. The license of the existing establishment is not sold. I mean, each licensee has to apply and on their own merits go through the background check, meet all the criteria, dram shop, everything else. It's basically a replacement of the ownership, but there's not a new license created, and they can't. The old owner can't take a license with them, so it's somewhat of a trade in some ways.
Well, we don't give a new license unless we get the old
Exactly.
license.
So it's not like the city of Chicago, you do not sell the business and the license?
No, they all have to be awarded on their own merits.
and part of the problem too, I think, is they've been listing that name. They've had the old name on there. I think it's still on there now.
That's going to be taken care of tomorrow.
Okay.
That the old sign should have come down previously.
Right, okay.
They figured when it was 15 degrees out, it's the best time to do it.
Okay.
I would agree with you, Alderman, that historically speaking, there's been businesses that have closed, and then the city has recalled that license or has declined or reduced
Yeah.
the number of licenses after that. But also, if there's been a sale, usually between Ultra and Tony's, there's been several sales like that where there was an expectation that the liquor license would continue as long as they met certain requirements.
Right, I don't think I would want to affect somebody's ability to sell a place
Yeah.
and that they can reasonably expect to get one. I just don't want them when they go away to kind of like build up and people come here saying, you have one, you owe it to me because I know it's sitting there, you got to give it to me. You know?
Yeah, we don't want to sell license, and we don't want to create where one license becomes two, or that they take it to another location, so that,
But as far as removal of like the bowling alley, I don't think that's an issue, that's a remnant. It's not really a remnant because they still have it, but you can have a license on a facility that covers alcohol in that room. It shouldn't be special. Same thing with the brunches, getting rid of that. We do have a couple of items like I know we just approved it, and I know there's a good case to approve it, but every time we approve something, we kind of keep making that spread bigger and bigger on ours.
50% of those, well, and 50% of those are tailor-made
Right.
for each business that it's in.
But like Tony's now has a 7 a.m. Now everybody's gonna run to us now and say, should we make that our standard? And every time we increase these boundaries, it just, other than having a patchwork of.
and if the city's concern is coming into like backdoor 3 a.m. licenses, I don't think there's anything wrong where we actually have more classifications. Interesting example of a Northwest suburban community recently kind of dealt with the same problem we had, that the number of licenses that they had, the hours and so forth, they tried to reconcile that, and they did the opposite. They just, if you were open till 10 o'clock and you had a 10 o'clock license, to collapse the number of licenses, they just put everybody under like a 2 a.m. license. That's kind of the opposite of where we're going. But I don't think other places I've worked or we saw other licenses, if you have a license for a midnight opening or 2 a.m., we can tailor that.
Listen.
I'm not saying we have a problem yet, but I don't want there to come a point where we become the focus of people wanting to open places and just start showing up here because they can just ask for a 3 o'clock.
Yeah.
I mean, people have done it not realizing they didn't have to, already, where we said, no, why don't you get this one? You don't need to have a 3 a.m.
Yeah.
And at some point, we'll end up with the wrong person having them and just don't want to go there. So, and most of the places now that our restaurants don't really need to have them open that long. And, maybe they shouldn't be as expensive. If your restaurant only open to midnight, then the police can now know that they only have 3 places that are going to be open past this time. There's a benefit to doing that,
Right.
for us to know that, not have it be willy-nilly. So, and then we can increase the cost of those later ones, especially with the video gaming, because there's a significant revenue that those locations have now that justify it. So I'll see if I can come up with something, submit it to Mike and see if he says it's okay or not. Some of the language too, where we get into, there's a lot of technical stuff in there. I don't know if it still needs to be in there that we didn't address, but one of the things is our A licenses don't even say you have to have food, and they should. A and C should be the same. So there's some other things that need to be
Food
addressed.
service.
Right. I do think our food service is addressed correctly in the ordinance. I don't think we necessarily follow it though when we issue them. So I would just like to probably make a point to point that out at some future time. But other than that, I think it's mostly the categories that we need to address. And I'll do that with Mike.
Okay.
Very good.
Can I make a couple of comments as well?
You're on the air.
Thanks, sir. To kind of echo what Pat has been saying, I agree with everything you've said. I would like to see some more uniformity across the board. We have let's have a 12 o'clock license, a 2 o'clock license, a 4 AM license, instead of the 1, 2, 3. And I don't know how you feel about, should there be a difference between weekdays and weekends, or does it really make a difference? Because I think at that point, your business owner is going to determine how late they're going to be open on those weekdays. But it certainly makes enforcement a lot easier if there's more uniformity across the board, instead of, it is so tailor-made to each individual business owner now. And, some suffer and some don't. But if Tony's can sell liquor at 7 AM, why can't the liquor store, why can't the remainder of the liquor stores in town sell at 7 AM? Again, would that make it easier for you? Chase?
Absolutely. I agree. Uniformity makes everything simpler.
And as I look, at surrounding communities, I don't think I've ever seen a bar that has a 3 AM license. I think that's kind of unique to us. I've noticed most of them are all 2 AM. So with the exception of the couple of 4 AMs that we have. In addition to that, I'd like to see if we can grasp some greater control over the video gaming. And do that by special use, as we discussed before, because that kind of ties directly into the liquor licenses. You had mentioned that Cafe Bliss, and did they ever come to us to talk about video gaming at all?
No.
And that's all set up for video gaming. It's coming. So now it's, we made this big deal about it, and now we don't even know it's coming.
Well, you expect it to come with any new application.
But
basically.
now I know to expect the unexpected.
It's not even new people coming in, it's whoever has
It's
one.
whoever has one, because it's a revenue stream.
There could be another, however many licenses, A and C licenses we have, that's
If
how
you've
many
got
more there
200
could be.
square feet, you're going to have 5 machines. So I'd just like to have greater control. However we make that happen, I'll leave it to you.
Well, it can't
If
be
you want help,
help,
you can have it out.
Mike's already opined on that several times, so
What's
it
that?
has to be, it can't be through the liquor code, video gaming can't, for us anyway.
No, it goes through the
Right, the special use is the only
Yeah.
way to.
That's-
But it's directly tied into, I guess the relation is because it is
Right, exactly.
predicated on the liquor license.
And the special use for something isn't, blanket-wise, isn't unusual, because we do that with gas stations. You can't put a gas station in except with a special use variance, anyway. So it's not like it would be an unusual.
I think going down the liquor code route would, because I spoke to the gaming commission attorney, that the gaming companies are suing municipalities that are trying to get creative with how they either get money for the licenses or outside of the confines of the statute. So you have to operate within the statute, and the zoning is the best way to do it.
Because it's not addressed.
Right, it's left up to the municipality.
I actually posed that question to Joe about a month ago, to see if there was any way that we could have any control over that. And I think you said that because we are not in the world, we could not enforce anything based on the liquor code.
Yes, it is the statute.
In Mike's letter, he specifically references where he contacted the Illinois Gaming Board about that too, so.
The special use, though, do we need to, does there have to be a definition of what's acceptable under special use, or is special use purely discretional?
It's discretionary.
100%?
If you deviate from like the customer practice of the municipality, then you may, run into some issues where, well, why are you treating them differently than other people? But if, in this case, it sounds like you'd be creating a new category, special use.
So we don't have to get into defining distances from things or number of locations within a certain radius, we could just purely say, well, you know what, in our opinion, it's too close to that, or there's already enough of them there.
You could if you wanted to. I mean, you could set standards that you apply to special use for a certain category, but it's not necessarily required. I mean, you don't do that for gas. Do you have that for gas stations?
No.
No. So.
Typically, when we had the Stella's case, for example, they came in for a special use for a sit-down restaurant. That's where the control was. Once they granted it, then a liquor license came. Well, as long as they met the 1,000-foot from a church or a school, I don't know how much more restrictive we can get above and beyond the state's requirements from, in terms of regulating distances, because we're pretty much locked. My understanding on that is can't be too much more restrictive on distances from those establishments.
For the license, yeah.
For state law. So I don't know how much extra control we're really going to gain other than limiting the type of zoning districts it's in, it's allowed in, or proximity in terms of numbers in a given region or a given area. Because there's potential in that one mall. We've already got 2 establishments, and the third one, Carnitas, could be a third one that could, so you could potentially have 3 different ones in the same frontage. And there's
75 feet apart.
Dan, my concern personally is not this one has 5, this one has 10, or this one has 5, this one has 5, this one has 5. It's as this program expands. And then all of a sudden, each is allowed to have 12. And then you have the bar that's building out because they need to have 12, and the place next door that's, Stella's-esque, has 12, and, you understand where I'm going with that?
Oh, I agree. What is the creep factor in terms of increasing the number?
Because we've just touched the surface with this. This is brand new.
And I don't know how much real control, other than the guidelines given by the state in terms of distances, that we can go above and beyond in our current capacity.
Well, as I've said before, I thought Wheeling handled it perfectly. They allow 3 video gaming places. It's in their code ordinances, whatever we're going to call it. That's all they can have. Pure gaming. Stella's, whatever their names, all the ladies' names. But the rest of it, why would you want to obviate? Why would you want to not let a restaurant open that has full service and full dinners and whatever, because they're going to get video gaming? This whole world is video gaming.
I couldn't agree with you more. The places, I bet you video gaming saved 3 restaurants in Prospect Heights, if not more. I agree with you 100%. But what's happening on Wolf Road there is exactly what I'm afraid of. You'll have there is nothing stopping, it's like a forest fire. There's nothing stopping it going from Camp McDonald all the way to the end of that shopping center, with places that come in here and say, I want to be a restaurant and I'm going to apply for a liquor license. Well, how do we stop them from getting a liquor license? As long as they meet the requirements of seating for 30 and food, they can get a license. Then what's the next thing? The state says if you have that, you can come and get a gaming license.
Right.
I just don't want to see that.
So how are you gonna stop it? Not allow restaurants to open?
Actually, the second option, really not the third option, but the second option is for us to treat it like we treat our liquor licenses, where we just become a municipality that no longer allows video gaming for the licenses. If somebody comes here, we open and close that requirement as we see fit, because nobody can tell us that we can't restrict it and allow it, restrict it, allow it. I mean, there's no restriction to that. And then we're sure that nobody's going to come in here and just put one in, or an existing person put one in that's right next to 4 others. So Mike wasn't too sure about that yet.
I wouldn't be too safe. And we've gone through this. I said, look, you can have your restaurant, but you're not going to get video gaming. But we can't control that. They go right to the state and get video gaming. But we can control the restaurant as far as, I suppose, what kind of food, not what kind, but the volume of food that they serve, the number of seats they have, etc. Why would you want to turn that down? Just because you don't want 5 more video gaming?
Because we can't prevent what I call the peanut butter and jelly restaurants, in quotes, that have 30 butt-wide seats jammed up against each other in the front of a store with 5 terminals in the back, and not a person orders food in 3 weeks. You know, we can't prevent that. We can, if you want to say, let's go to 3,000 square foot minimum for, Lake County is doing that right now, or they're doing something similar to that, where they said what the minimum square footage is, you know, what the minimum percentage of food is to your overall operations, and they can justify that.
That's a lot easier to do, in my opinion.
But we can't, I don't know that we can necessarily do that. We can't.
Well, tied to the game.
Mhm.
You can, I think that's the best route, actually, is the zoning. If you have requirements for the restaurants, control it through that method. You can't, where it gets tricky is tying the gaming license to something. That's where you don't really, as a non-home rule municipality, have any control over it. You can either ban it outright, or if you allow, you're kind of, letting the, letting anybody with a liquor license get it, basically. But if you are giving liquor licenses to people for restaurants, and this ties into your reviewing the code, if you're giving licenses to people with restaurants and you have a square footage minimum and that sort of thing, that's how you control it, to avoid situations where it's clearly a front just for video gaming.
As long as we're within the statute, that's a non.
Right.
The statute covers everything.
The statute, yes. Yes, but the statute is completely silent on completely silent. If you were slapping, application fees and business license fees on video gaming, that's where you get into trouble. And that's what other municipalities have been doing and causing lawsuits because of it.
So we could then say,
There's a lot of them haven't been touched yet.
Not
That
yet.
may happen.
so by zoning, we
Yeah.
could say, because there's sort of rules about how close to a school or church, we could say that if you're within 3 miles of another, or 2 miles of another video gaming location, it requires a special use permit.
It's an option. It's something we have to
So at
look
least
at.
I would have a criteria that would say, and then at that point, they either meet or don't meet it. Then if they ask for a special use, we could say, then you can use judgment to say whether it's too close or not. And we don't have to get into criteria.
Specifically talking about standalone, like the video gaming parlors. Well, if you have a restaurant.
Then they would come in for a special use, and we'd say, yes, that's perfect, that's great,
Okay.
I still like limiting the 3 licenses to,
We can't do that, though.
yeah, we can. Wheeling did it.
You can't.
They're
Wheeling's
home
home
rule.
rule.
Yeah, okay, let's wrap that for a minute. I really don't like your approach over the many years now, that video gaming doesn't employ people.
It does.
It doesn't,
It does.
the hell, no, it's selling my food. What do you think people can do in a 1,500 square foot space? You think they can hire 50 people to work in there?
No, but
Of course not.
my point is that it's a special thing. If somebody, to me, the places that are thriving now because they haven't is where they belonged in the first place. I don't want to go through and name names of these places, but there are places that have it that are doing well now and have put money into their places and are open longer. And I go there on Friday or Saturday night for dinner and I see them full because they've put big screen TVs in and they have things going on because they're spending the money because it is so lucrative to have video gaming. What I don't like is when you have the one guy sitting behind the counter.
But that's all you have in a liquor store. That's all you have in a nail joint.
I don't talk about video gaming. I'm talking about, if I want somebody to have it, I don't want to saturate it so much that it becomes useless to have. I want those places that really.
I don't understand the useless word. What do you mean it becomes useless?
There's no use to having 6 of these things side by side that are going to generate, just enough for them to stay open. I would rather see it where we have these restaurants, these places in town that exist and have it, and they do well because they have it.
I like it, I mean, that's true. But to think that you're gonna bring in a lot of people that eat in a 1,200 square foot video gaming place.
Why do they have video gaming? Why have the video gaming?
Why not? It produces
Because it
video.
draws from the people that have it, that do
What
have
are we
it.
at, 150,000 or more annually right now?
Just under 150, I looked it up last night.
Well, there you go. And I guess that, so
I see
You know, we
video-
opened up yesterday, the day before, the storage place, okay? What is that, 5 stories high? How many square feet?
3 and about 92,000 square foot.
92,000 square feet. You know how many people they employ? 3. 3.
Thank you.
So the spacing, to me, doesn't mean anything. You have a video gaming place, how many they employ? 2 or 3. What does that liquor store across the street employ? Mom and pop, that's it. So it has nothing to do with employee. It has to do with your moral approach. You don't
It's not
want
that-
a lot of video gaming
It's not, and I've
in the
lost more
city.
money playing blackjack than I'd love to admit. It has nothing to do with the moral approach. It's something that I think is special. I think it's something we don't want to see on every corner. I mean,
You're not going to because people get, we've got this corner going here right now. They want to put in video gaming, Deli for You Plaza. How many square feet is that?
That one's about 3,200. square feet.
3,200. He's gonna have to run a restaurant, you know, 5
if you've got video
machines.
gaming.
5 machines.
That's what you miss, is you don't have to have a restaurant that have video gaming.
No, but they want it.
A loaf of bread,
yeah,
some cheese, and a microwave is all you have to do to have video gaming.
We're talking about a restaurant here, a restaurant.
But you're assuming that that standard is going to be held. Once they're doing 200 grand a year in video
Well, then
gaming,
let's
why
write
are
the
you going to have a
standards.
restaurant?
Let's
You're
have-
going
let's
to
have
comply
standards.
with the requirement to have the video.
Let's
You
have,
and I
a-
just see it differently, Nick. It's just,
no, it's not different. I look at income.
That's
I look
exactly-
at problems that aren't there, okay, our police problems. I look at people that come and go and, you know, a lot of them, pardon the expression, are older people. They go out there for lunch and they pull the slots a few times, right next to Tony's, for example. I see that all the time. I have no problem about that. And, you know, you said not too long ago, we were the 3rd largest,
second in the northwest suburbs.
not true. They only compared us to 2 others. So you go up to
Because all the other
Fox
ones
Lake.
ban it.
How much
Because
do you
Arlington
get in
Heights
Fox
doesn't
Lake?
have.
250,000.
250,000. So they're much bigger than we are. You take anything around here, we're not the biggest.
Arlington
and we're
Heights
not the
doesn't have
smallest.
it, Mount Prospect
They're
doesn't have it.
fighting for it
Glenview
right
doesn't
now.
have
You
it.
read the newspaper? They're fighting for it right now.
And once they do,
realize-
they're gonna draw, there's only so many, you think this is like not a zero-sum game. There's only so many people that are gonna come and play these games. The state's never gonna, they're not gonna video game themselves out of debt. I mean, at some point it stops, and at some point the specialness
Well,
of that
you know,
goes away.
okay.
And if you have them
All
on
right.
every corner,
Yeah.
you're gonna take it away from the places that really do a service to the
Tell me
city.
why Las Vegas keeps growing.
Because it's,
Is that all the same people all the time? I don't think so. It's always new people. We have transients going through here. We have people staying at hotels that are here and so on. Now,
I don't know, maybe I got a different view of what the city should look like. I don't think there should be a video game.
what the city should look like is to do a downtown center that you turned down. You wouldn't let me work on doing a downtown center. That's what the city
It's
should
still in
look
our
like.
All we asked for was a plan.
It's on the budget, it's in the budget to do, you haven't brought the proposal
For a
forward.
fountain and buying places, and you think someone's gonna just walk in?
Anyway, I guess we can battle that later, but
All right, what do we need, a motion to adjourn?
No.
We need a warrant.
Warrant.
I know.
Get bills.
Oh, I know the middle of
It was a joke, Larry. Take a joke.
Hey, warrants.